Nature and classification of law. This is the very first topic that we shall be looking at. This series of videos shall be covering the A-level law syllabus by Cambridge International Examinations, and we will start off with the English legal system. The very first topic is the nature and classification of law, and we shall start by doing that topic. The very first thing that we need to understand is what is law? What do we understand by the term law? It seems like a fairly simple question, but to date, there is not one single definition of law. There are several definitions by several eminent philosophers, and each of them seems to be equally valid. To date, it has not been decided which one will be preferred or not, because they all look at circumstances in a different manner, have a different perspective. Anyways, what you need to understand is you need to understand what they all say so that you are able to form your own definition of what law means to you. There are, however, certain categories that we are all very clear about, and these categories are very well recognized. So for you, in order for you to be able to form your own definition of law, it is important that you understand the different categories and nature of these categories. The most basic category is that between international law and national law. So national law is also referred to as municipal law or domestic law. So national law is the law which is applicable within a country. So for example, the laws that are applicable within the state of Pakistan are national laws. Okay, so since we are covering England and Wales, so we will be talking about the laws in England and Wales throughout this course. On the other hand, if we look at international law is concerned with disputes between nations. Okay, so for example, the law which is applicable between, let's say, France and the UK, their relationship in terms of when there is a dispute is governed by international law. I hope the distinction is clear that national law is the law applicable within a country and international law is the law which is applicable in case of a dispute between countries. We can move on now to the second category, which is that of public law and private law. Now, this category is a subcategory of national law. So, when we come to national law, under national law, there is public law and then there is private law. Again, now when we look at public law, there are other categories as well. So, generally speaking, I'll define it as stated here. Public law involves the state or government in some way. Private law, on the other hand, is concerned with disputes between private individuals or organizations. Okay, so now we'll have a look at public law and the different categories that it has. Under public law, there are three main categories. There is constitutional law, there is administrative law, and there is criminal law. Constitutional law controls the method of government and any disputes which arise over such matters. So the method of government and any disputes over the method of government are covered by, you could say, constitutional law. Moving on, administrative law controls how ministers of state or the public body should operate, and it also looks at the right to judicial review of certain decisions. It controls how the ministers of state or the public bodies should be operating. Okay. Judicial review allows the judges to consider whether a decision is reasonable or not. Okay. Judicial review is actually a very wide concept, a very detailed concept, and in public law, there's actually a whole detailed chapter on it. But over here, for the purposes of this course, you just need a very basic understanding because you're not likely to be tested on this topic maybe once in 5 years you might get a question on it, but more often than not, this is not a topic on which you will get a question. This is a topic you need to understand so that you can understand the rest of the topics on which you are going to be examined. Moving on, criminal law sets out the types of behavior which is forbidden, and failure to do so obviously results in punishment. Okay, so criminal law is something where we'll need to discuss it in a bit more detail, because it seems very similar to private law. It shares similar characteristics, but you need to keep in mind, and I will look at the differences later, but you need to keep in mind that when somebody commits a crime, it is seen as an offense against the state itself. It's seen as so serious that it is seen as an offense against the state, which is why criminal law falls under the category of public law. We shall now move on to the next heading within national law. So I said there is public law, and then I said there is private law. So we've looked at public law and the three categories: constitutional, administrative, criminal. Now we will look at what we mean by private law. So private law is also referred to as civil law. Okay, like I told you earlier, it is concerned with disputes between private individuals and organizations. Okay, so if you have a dispute with someone, that's in the civil domain. It's covered under civil law or private law. These are used interchangeably. And there are different fields under private law. So it depends on what kind of dispute you have. So I'll give you an example. Okay, so there is a law of contract. So if somebody has made an agreement with you and they fail to perform their part of the contract, for example, then if they're in breach of contract, let's say, you will very likely have written what will happen in that scenario, and if you've not written it, there are laws governing that. So now this is covered under civil law. This is part of private law. Okay, so you will get a remedy under contract law. You will look at the principles developed for contract law. At the same time, there is another field. You could say, for example, law of tort. Tort means, literally, it means a wrong. Okay, so when you're on the road, you owe a duty of care to other road users. When you are driving a car, you owe a duty of care to the other people who are there on the road, either those who are walking pedestrians or those who are driving cars, motorcycles, whatever. You owe a duty of care to them. This is something recognized under the law of tort. It is not something, so this is different from contract law. In contract law, you already have an agreement and something goes wrong and you have a dispute. So you go to the court and you figure out what to do in that situation on the basis of your contract and the law which governs contract law. But in the case of tort, there is no contract. Okay, so there is the law which is already developed, and there are certain rules, and one of those rules is that when you step out on the road, you owe a duty of care to other road users as well. Okay, and if you fall short of that standard, if you breach that duty and you cause harm, then you have committed what is known as negligence. Now, contract and tort are also both are part of your A-level law syllabus. So one is English legal system, the second is contract and tort. For those who are taking a paper in 2023, bear in mind that criminal law is going to be added at that point as well. So for that, we will have a new video, but we have ample time for it at the moment. Okay. All right. So another example of private law is family law, the law which talks about, who is going to inherit what property when somebody in their family has passed away, the law related to marriage, the law related to divorce, the law related to child custody, for example. Then company law, employment law, etc. So there are lots of different fields in private law. What you need to remember is that it governs disputes between private individuals and or organizations. Okay. Now, before we move further, I told you that criminal law seems very similar to private law, because there's an individual, he's faced let's say personal injury, and he will sue that person for that injury. He will get a remedy according to the laws. Now, it seems very much like the examples that I just gave you. All right. So, but however, there are distinctions. And like I said, criminal law is not part of private law. So, let's have a look at those distinctions to understand what sets it apart. All right. Bear in mind that public law involves the state or the government in some way. So, in criminal law, even though it is an individual who is affected, one or more, but when you commit a criminal offense against an individual, it is seen as an offense against the state, which is why it is part of public law, not private law. Okay, so the first distinction is that the cases take place in different courts. So when we look at the hierarchy of courts in precedent, and that's a separate topic, we will realize that the hierarchy of courts for the criminal side is different from the hierarchy of courts from the civil side. So that's the first difference. So for criminal cases, they will be tried either in the magistrate court or the crown court. But in civil matters, they're generally heard in the high court or the county court. There are some matters which do go to the magistrate court, but generally there is this difference. The crown court specifically deals with criminal cases, and the county court specifically deals with private law cases. All right. So the first difference is the cases take place in different courts. Now, the second difference between criminal cases and civil cases, please bear in mind, I'm using civil cases and private law, these terms interchangeably. They are the same. There is no difference. Okay, just stick to one and continue with it. So I think I will stick to civil cases now, and I will keep on identifying the difference between criminal cases and civil cases. So the second difference is that the person stating the case is given a different name. In a criminal case, the person who brings about the case is referred to as the prosecutor. And in civil cases, the person is referred to as the claimant. Before 1999, a claimant was known as a plaintiff. So there are times that you read, when you look at old cases, they might have used the term plaintiff. So don't worry, plaintiff means claimant, and claimant is the person who brings a case in a civil case. All right. Prosecutor is the name given to somebody who brings forward a case in a criminal case. As I told you earlier, criminal cases are taken on behalf of the state, even though an individual is filing them initially, but they're taken on behalf of the state. The third difference is that the terminology which is used is different. Okay. When a conclusion is reached, when a decision is reached, in a criminal case, a defendant will be found either guilty or not guilty. Whereas in a civil case, a defendant will be found either liable or not liable. So these are terms that you should be familiar with, because you are going to be using them in your answers when you're writing your answers. So for a civil offense, liable, not liable. For a criminal offense, guilty, not guilty. The fourth difference is regarding the standard of proof. The standard of proof is also different. In a criminal case, you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that, the defendant has committed an offense. And if you fail to do so, then the person cannot be held guilty. Okay. In a civil case, however, you need to prove that the defendant has committed the harm identified on a balance of probabilities. So you might, in your mind, the first question that might arise is that, what is meant by balance of probabilities, and what is meant by, proving something beyond reasonable doubt. So it's really balance of probabilities, you could say, is what is most likely. It is most likely that this happened. So you need to be more than, you could say, 50% sure, but not very much towards 100%. But beyond reasonable doubt means a lot of, you need to have a lot of evidence. So I will just, like, take this paper and show you. Let's say this is the full level of proof. So this is 0 and this is the full level. Okay, so on a balance of probabilities, if this is the middle, would be something like your hair. Okay, this is the amount of proof that you need to show, which is more than 50%, to show that somebody on a balance of probability that they have committed an offense. Then it's very likely that they did commit that. Okay, that they did commit that harm. But for a criminal offense, it has to be beyond reasonable doubt, which means you are almost near the 100% mark. You will need to look at criminal law. You will need to understand exactly, the debate beyond the meaning of the word reasonable. But for our purposes, we need to know that reasonable doubt means that there should be no reasonable doubt left that this person did not commit the crime. It shouldn't be that it's likely. It should be that there is no reasonable doubt left that this person has in fact committed the crime, and there is no reasonable doubt left that they have not committed the crime. If that is the case, then you can hold them guilty. If that is not the case, if there is even a shadow of doubt that they might not have committed the offense, you can't hold them guilty then. Okay, I hope the difference is clear. You need to just bear in mind these two terms: balance of probabilities for civil cases and beyond reasonable doubt for criminal cases. Let's move on and let's look at the next part. Okay, you might recall that I told you right at the very start of this discussion that there are different definitions of law, and I will share those with you now so that you can understand the different perspectives and the different times in which people made their definition, so that you can now be in a position where you can form your understanding of what you understand by what law is. So, John Austin is a very famous legal philosopher, and he says, and I will read it out now, that law is the command of a sovereign backed by sanctions. Okay. There is a whole lot of discussion we can do on these definitions, and I'm not going to go there. I just want you to just dip in it and have a look at the different types that are there. You don't need to delve into it. For those people who are doing LLB, in their third year, they take up the subject jurisprudence, and that is all that they do. They just look at the definitions, they try to understand what different philosophers have said, and they try to figure that out. You're not required to do that here. You just need to understand the nature of law right now. So just listen to these different definitions and try to appreciate that they are different. Hans Kelsen states that law is a direction to officials to apply the law when citizens commit a delict. Okay, a delict is, you could say, an offense, something which is, written in the laws that you must not do so. Okay, H.L.A. Hart says that law is the union of primary and secondary rules. They haven't just given one sentence definitions. They have written a whole lot of books on them, on these definitions, and they have explained everything. Okay, so just try to see that, they have talked about things and they've all said something different. They've all talked about law. They've all given a definition with something different. So it just adds to the point that you can't really define it in one sentence, but there are characteristics of law and you can look at them and they are very easily identifiable and they will help you understand what law is. Now, there are certain distinctions that we need to make. There are certain points that we need to understand. So the first distinction that we will look at is that there is a difference between law and rules. Okay. Before you listen to what I say, maybe just pause and think for a second that what is the difference between law and rules. All right. Now, laws apply throughout a country generally. They're applicable to everyone. Within a country, the domestic law is applicable to everyone. International law, well, let's not go there because there's a whole lot of debate about how to enforce it, but it's applicable between countries in terms of applicability. Now, rules, on the other hand, only apply to a certain group of people or in limited situations. So, for example, all sports have rules. Okay, they're not laws as such, but they're rules and they're applicable to a particular situation for a particular group of people who are part of that sport. Okay, so that's the primary difference between law and rules. There can also be unwritten rules, um, and they can identify the norms for behavior, and breach can lead to disapproval, but they're not laws. Okay, like local custom, etc., religious beliefs, practice. Okay, now we'll move on to the next point, that we need to also understand that what is meant by a code of law. Now, a code of law means that you have tried to lay down in a written form all the existing law that is there, and you've tried to lay it down in one coherent book, you could say, or in one coherent form, so that it is available for whoever wants to look at it. Now, the UK does not have a code of law, and theoretically it seems desirable, but it must be kept in mind that when you write something down, you are in a way limiting it because you have already defined it. So in the UK, precedent also helps develop the law. There are acts of parliament which develop the law as well. There is also equity, which is now a part of law as such, but it's discretionary. So the UK does not have a code of law. So you need to understand that a code of law is a complete set of legal rules, and it might not be that desirable because it limits everything. It's because it's defined. All right. Let's move on to the next distinction. So we looked at law and rules. The second distinction that we need to look at is law and morality. Now, there are overlaps. Even between law and rules, there were overlaps. Between law and morality as well, there is an overlap. But morality is on the basis of generally your religious ideas. So it is morally wrong to backbite about someone. It is morally wrong to lie. But it's not illegal to backbite. It's not illegal to even lie. Okay? So these are differences that you need to understand. That the law is, yes, regulating your behavior as well in a way, but it is different from morality. Law and justice, that's the next distinction that we will look at. So I'll just, if you could give me a minute. Yeah. Again, justice is applying law in the same way to all people. And law might not necessarily end up providing justice. There are times when you apply law in the same way to all people, but you might not actually achieve justice. So, fining a person for a certain offense, and you say, the fine should be the same for everyone. So, somebody who is financially very well off may very easily be able to afford that fine. But somebody who is not that financially well off, that fine might take a big toll on that person. So, this is something, this is a consideration that you need to keep in mind when you are looking at law, and when you look at the fact that one of its aim is to provide justice, but in actually making sure that you do justice by applying the law equally, you might actually end up creating injustice. This is very contradictory, but you just need to understand that just because you are applying the law does not necessarily mean that justice is being served as well. Okay. Just a few more points. I hope that your concepts are somewhat clear by now. This is actually the last point. So, also in law, you need to remember that wherever there is a right, so in law you claim that you have this right or you have that right, you also have duties. One cannot just get up and say that I have a right to privacy, for example. You also have a duty to respect others' privacy. It's not that you just have all the rights and there are no duties on you. For each right, there is a corresponding duty. Okay, so please keep that in mind, these distinctions, and I hope these distinctions and this discussion has helped you understand the nature of law and has hopefully helped you classify and categorize the law as it stands. Uh, Very briefly, just so that you have an idea, we looked at uh, the definition of law, we looked at international law and national law. We looked at the division between national law, that is public law and private law. Then we looked at public law, which has three divisions: constitutional law, administrative law, and criminal law. And then we moved on to discussion of private law, where we talked about contract law, tort law, family law as examples. And then we talked about the distinctions between criminal cases and civil cases. And then we talked about law, rules, justice, morality, the overlap, and the differences. And we also briefly in between, because this is part of your course, we looked at codes of law. It's just a concept that you need to be familiar with. And then lastly, we looked at rights and duties. Um, Thank you for your time. If you have any queries or concerns, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do my best to take our time and help you out with those. And thank you for your time.